Let's recite Al-Fatiha, please. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم إلى قيامة يوم الدين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، يا غريب كربلاء رزقنا الله في الدنيا زيارتكم وشفاعتكم في الدنيا وفي القبر وفي الآخرة. أما بعد، يقول الله في محكم كتابه وقرآنه المجيد وقوله الحق: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. حتى إذا جاء أحدهم الموت قال رب ارجعون لعلي أعمل صالحا فيما تركت، كلا إنها كلمة هو قائلها ومن ورائهم برزخ إلى يوم يبعثون. آمنا بالله، صدق الله العلي العظيم. أفلح من يصلي على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We move into our third night of discussions on Shi'i eschatology, known in Arabic as the Ma'ad. In Usul al-Khamsa, in the Usul al-Din, we have 5 major beliefs that are necessary for a believer to believe in order for them to be considered a believer, not just a Muslim. What are those 5? Tawheed, to believe in one, radically one, right? Not some trinity equaling one, just one God. Number 2, we believe in Adala, which is the divine justice of Allah. Number 3, we believe in Nubuwah. We believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala communicates to humanity through prophets. Number 4, we believe that after that silsila, that episode of prophethood comes to an end, Allah doesn't just leave us without guidance, He also has imams, divinely appointed imams. That's number 4. And then finally, number 5, that once this is all over, there is a return. And there is a whole entire belief structure called the Ma'ad. Ma'ad is basically eschatology. It's that which happens from death onwards. So on night 1, we covered death. Yesterday, we covered the mechanics of Barzakh. Tonight, inshallah, we will be continuing a little bit with the mechanics of Barzakh. As well, inshallah, we will be looking at the questioning of Munkar and Nakir in the grave, as well as we will be looking at what is our life going to look like once we are in Barzakh. So inshallah, that is the hope and the aim for tonight's lecture. Whether or not we have enough time to cover everything, that remains to be seen. It's in Allah's hands. But inshallah, we'll try to cover as much as possible, and tomorrow we will move on to the resurrection and what that will look like, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Let's have another loud 2 salawats after this.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So in continuation of our discussion of the mechanics of Barzakh, we come to this question of, first and foremost, does Barzakh happen to everybody? Some are of the opinion that Barzakh doesn't even happen. There are very few scholars from other schools of thought, those who do not even believe in the Imams, that once we die, we immediately just go to Qiyam. However, we, following the Imams, in our school, the school of Ahlul Bayt, Barzakh is a known reality, and there are many verses alluding to that, many hadith explicitly pointing that out. So it's clear that it happens to everybody. When does it exactly happen? According to our understanding, it seems that Barzakh happens immediately at the point of separation of soul from body. It's not that the soul gets separated from the body and then you get transported by the angels to this land called Barzakh. No. Barzakh is a realm. It encompasses this realm. How do you enter it? You die. Interestingly enough, we have hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam where he says that you should die before you die. How do you do that? This is, of course, metaphorical. It doesn't actually mean, take your life or something like that. But in terms of this realm of multiplicity, where there are multiple different distractions happening here in this plane of existence, forget about all of that, and just focus on the plane of unity. Be able to start seeing that realm of Barzakh the way how we, the Ahlul Bayt, are telling you. So die before you die, that is something that we have to go and try to achieve. That's not going to happen, of course, overnight. Yesterday we were talking in our discussion about the shakila, about your disposition, and how it's not something that can just be developed overnight. We talked about how Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he had that disposition where when he saw something immediately go wrong with Yazid, he said, no, I'm not going to go and give my bay'ah to this kind of a person. People came in his time. Remember, Imam Hussein was Imam of the time for 10 years while Muawiyah was alive. 10 years before that, his brother Imam Hassan was alive. Why didn't Imam Hassan do this? Why didn't Imam Hussein do this when it came to Muawiyah? You see, Imam Hussein's response is, well, I have a treaty that my brother Imam Hassan signed with Muawiyah. So I'm kind of tied right now. But the shart of this treaty is that once he dies, Hukuma either goes back to Imam Hassan's not here anymore, so therefore it goes back to me. Muawiyah had, of these 16 points in the treaty, one by one, he kept on violating, until finally this final one of his succession came into question. Muawiyah dies. Who does he go and put into power? Yazid. Muawiyah goes and starts eliminating, he goes and asks people in his court, who do people say should be the next Khalifa? People said, Abu Bakr has a son, Muhammad ibn Abu Bakr. Muhammad ibn Abu Bakr was a true Shi'a because he was raised by Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, and he became governor of Egypt. Muawiyah says, Muhammad ibn Abu Bakr, Okay, let's see. Next thing you know, Muhammad ibn Abu Bakr has been politically assassinated in Egypt. Who else do the people say should be the ruler after me? People say the son of the second Khalifa, Umar ibn Khattab, he has a son named Abdullah ibn Umar. He's also really popular. He could be a very good candidate if you allow him the chance. Says, Abdullah ibn Umar, Okay. Next thing you know, Abdullah ibn Umar also happens to be killed. You find Abdullah ibn Zubayr. They tried to go and either get his allegiance. They couldn't get his allegiance. He was able to escape the Umayyad persecution. But the top of that list, after Imam al-Hassan, of course, was on that list. Why do you think Imam al-Hassan ended up being poisoned? Because Muawiyah was like, no. We're not going to have any other competition. If anyone's going to come and succeed me, it's going to be this son of mine named Yazid. The final person in this way, who was standing in the way of Muawiyah's dream of having a Sufyani line of Khulafa, was Imam Hussein. And so they went and said to Yazid that, look, your father wants us to tell you that his dream was, you either quietly go and get the bay'ah from Imam Hussein and just be okay with that, or let him be. When Imam Hussein went and said, no, why do you want it to be in private? Let's go do it in public. Muawiyah was cunning enough to know that Imam Hussein will never ever give bay'ah in public to him or to Yazid. Imam Hassan never gave it publicly. Why would Imam Hussein? He said, if he gives it to you privately, take it. If he wants to be just left alone and he's not going to make trouble for you, leave him. Yazid, however, has a problem. He's like, no, I need him to be shown accepting me. It needs to be public, right? Marwan ibn Hakam comes to Imam Hussein. He says, do you want to do it private? We can do it right now. He says, no, why private? Let's go do it public. In that time, he escapes Mecca and goes towards Kufa. Ala kul hal, that's not our discussion today. Let's go into the timing of Barzakh, right? Because we have talked enough about Shakila. We'll come back to Shakila later on in tonight's lecture. But for now, let's answer this question that I posed at the beginning of, okay, well, Barzakh happens to everybody. What about the timeline of Barzakh? What does time look like in Barzakh? Time is one of those things that we shed once we let go of this body. And so time does not work the same way how it does for us here in dunya, once we leave this dunya. Meaning that the person who enters Barzakh, for example, at the blowing of the trumpet, when Israfil, right, he blows the trumpet, everybody in the skies and the earth falls down dead. Well, you might be thinking, okay, well, if they're in the earth and they just died, how come they don't get any barzakh? But for someone from the time of Musa, someone from the time of, Ibrahim, Adam alayhi salam, they've been in barzakh for thousands and thousands of years. How is that fair? Time doesn't work the same way, brothers and sisters, as it does here in dunya. It works differently in barzakh than it does here in dunya. How does it work? Some of you may be familiar with, for example, some of the superhero movies that are coming out right now. And I hate to use these examples, but because we are in a youth majlis and you might connect with it, I'll take that opportunity to try to connect with you. In the Marvel universe, when you go down to the quantum realm, time doesn't work the same. Similarly, in Barzakh, time doesn't work the same. You might be put into a pocket dimension, and you, apart from everybody else in Barzakh, you have your own mechanics of time. It doesn't work the same for you as it does for everybody else in Barzakh. For some people, they might have been thinking, oh my God, we've been in Barzakh, I don't know how long it's been. Then more of their family members come and meet them, and they say, hey, salam alaikum, how are you? Remember, yesterday we said that they come and visit in the form of birds, yes? They can come and see how our halat are. They might see, oh wow, my grandchildren are going through a tough time called, I don't know what exactly it is, maybe they can explain to me when they get here to Barzakh, but they call it COVID-19. Your grandparents, what do they know about COVID-19? But they see that you are asking Allah, Ya Allah, please, this COVID-19, khalisna, like in Shahr Ramadan, we go and make dua Josh Kabir, right? Khalisna min al-nari ya Rab. I'm sure many of us, after 3 years of being quarantined, we're like, khalisna min hadha quarantine. For God's sake, man, we've been, chained up and locked up in our homes for way too long. So, they see what's happening to us in dunya. But can they have that same understanding of how time was working like how we do right now? Not necessarily. And so those people who were in Barzakh since the time of Adam, and those people who will come into Barzakh at the very end when the trumpet is blown, these people are going to experience Barzakh the same way. The same exact way. The person who comes at the very end, he will have, let's say, 50,000, 100,000 years. However long the angels need with him, that will be given to him. The person who needs it at the time of Adam, he might still be going through his 50,000 years. Right? Whatever it takes, that will be fulfilled within those pocket dimensions before you are raised up for Qiyamah. So now, if we have pocket dimensions, that kind of also explains how the hadith of Muhammad and al-Muhammad come into play. When, for example, they say, Imam Rida alayhi salam, for example, I'm remembering this hadith right now. where someone who was from the Waqifiyya. How many of you know what the Waqifiyya are? The Waqifiyya are, good, there's a couple of hands at least, right? The Waqifiyya are that sect. It does not exist anymore amongst the Shia, but they stopped with Imam Musa ibn Ja'far al-Kadhim. They said that he is the final Imam, he is the Mahdi, he has gone into Ghaiba. We will now, as his representatives, take your khums on his behalf. Thank you very much. Just give us the khums. Don't ask questions. Thank you very much. Just give us the khums. Imam al-Mudha is the Imam of the time after Imam al-Qabr. Imam al-Mudha says that one of these people who is one of the leaders of the Waqifiyya movement has just died. He was just questioned by Munkar and Nakir. We're going to be moving on to the questioning of Munkar and Nakir in a few short moments. It says, he was asked, who is your Lord? Who is your messenger? What is your book? What was your qibla? Who is your imams? And then when he got to the question of the imams, he was able to go and answer correctly. My imams are Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. Then after that, Imam Hassan ibn Ali. Then Imam Hussein ibn Ali. Then Imam Ali ibn Hussein. Then Muhammad ibn Ali. Then Ja'far ibn Muhammad. Then Musa ibn Ja'far. He said, but once he got to the name of my father, the question came from the angels. And he couldn't answer. And he said that Munkar and Nakir brandished a whip made of fire and they started torturing him over there. And had the khalq, jinn and ins been able to hear it, that scream by itself in the grave of any single person would have been enough for them to become al Sirat al-Mustaqim. Ya Allah, I'm ready. I'm ready to go and disobey whatever you want. That sound was so terrifying of the screech of that person being tortured in their grave. That was enough, Ya Allah. Thank you very much. That's all the warning that I needed. I'm ready. How do we understand this? Because this might be kind of really annoying if everybody in Barzakh keeps on, how many people die a day? Right? Might be a little bit annoying if this is the kind of noise level that's being emitted. We just passed the July 4th weekend. How many of you guys were complaining that, oh my God, man, like how late into the night are you going to be, firing off fireworks? Cities have noise ordinances. Barzakh doesn't have any noise ordinances. The people are just allowed to be screaming in their graves up until Yawm al-Qiyamah. That's going to be very annoying. No, they're taken into their own pocket dimension where they're dealt with on their own. Nobody can help them. It's just them and their deeds. And so we come now to the actual questioning of Munkar and Nakir. Brothers and sisters, this is something that does not happen to everyone, according to our imams. This does not happen, for example, to the polytheists. This does not happen, for example, to maybe the atheists. What are they going to even answer? Was there even a chance of them having the right answer? No. The Imams say these questions of Munkar and Nakir are only going to be for the Muslims. Muslims. Not everybody. So when it happens, what's the point then of these angels asking me, who is your Lord? Is any Muslim going to get it wrong? How many times in our namaz, if you're even somewhat of a practicing Muslim, you're praying 5 times a day. How many times are you going to be saying, Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika la, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Okay, so it should be pretty easy, right? What's the point of asking these questions if they're going to be such kindergarten level questions? Here, brothers and sisters, we have to understand what we were talking about a couple of nights ago. Remember when I said a couple of nights ago that what you do repetitively, that's what you're going to invite into your life? Those are the seeds that you're planting. If you're praying 5 times a day, that repetition, that's going to come and be helpful to you, not only in Barzakh, but over here in Qabr as well, in your grave as well. See, when yesterday we were talking about the shakila, when we were talking about the disposition, and making that your second nature, that's exactly what's your answer quality going to be like in the Qabr. How? I'm going to ask all of you, you guys don't all have to go and answer, but I will ask, at least some of you answer the question that I'm about to give. I'll ask 2 math questions, okay? I want to see how good Dallas's math is. Some of you may be outside of high school for so long that you're like, math? وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا math? I thought math, we would never have to look at it again. I went into an architecture degree. No, we're just going to ask you a multiplication question, okay? If I go and ask you right now, what's 11 times 13? And I go and ask you, what's 11 times 13? What's 11 times 13? Come on. Hey, hello. What's 11 times 13? What's 11 times 13? Oh, 11 times 13, that's maybe too hard for you, right? Okay, 12 times 13. What's 12 times 13? Someone help me, 12 times 13. 12 times 13. 12 times, okay, he brought in a calculator. Inshallah, you have an iPhone with you in the Qabr. But for the rest of us, what, right? Sorry? 156 for 12 times 13. And 11 times 13 is? 143. Ahsan, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, you guys had this without any pressure. I want you to go through a thought experiment, and I'm going to offset this with la samahullah, God forbid that this ever happens, but you guys know in the hall that we are sitting in right now, there are only 2 points of entry and exit. This one right here, which is closed off, and that one that we all came through. God forbid, that an active shooter comes in. An active shooter comes in, right? And there's going to be chaos like you've never seen before, because you're not going to go towards that, you're going to go through this door. I go and decide to do another experiment with you. And I go and ask you, what's 12 times 13? I'm going to block the door over here, and you're not going to be allowed to go through until you answer, what's 12 times 14? What's 12 times 14? What's 12 times 14? And then you finally go and finally answer it, and I say, congratulations, you can go through the door. Do we have that much time? Not really. But if I go and ask you a different question, same situation, high pressure states, right? God forbid that it ever happens in any mosque, and not any mosque that I'm ever in, but let's say that it happens, and I go and stand here in front of the door, and I go and ask you, and I want, again, audience participation, inshallah. Doesn't have to be everybody, but at least some of you would be appreciated, inshallah. I go and start asking you, I'm here at the door, and I go and ask you, 2 plus 2, what's 2 plus 2? Come on, what's 2? Oh, 5. Wow. Yeah, now in 2023, because things like objective truth doesn't even matter anymore, and 2 plus 2 might even actual 5, right? Yeah, Munkar and Nakir, they can go and bring out the fireworks for those kinds of people where 2 plus 2 equals 5. But for those of you who answered 4, how were you able to answer 4 so quickly and so easily? And why were you not able to answer 11 times 13? Or why were you not able to answer 12 times 13? After all, 12 times 13, what is it other than, see, here's the thing. In America, in Pakistan, in all of our education systems, the multiplication table goes till 12 times 12. 12 times 13, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Right? Halaki, even though 12 times 13, all it is, okay, 12 times 12 is 144. If I have to add 12, 144 plus 2 is 146, plus another 10 is 156. Wow, mashallah, wow. It took all of you that long. God help you if someone actually does come and you have a high stakes pressure and I go and actually stand in front of your door, right? This is what Munkar and Nakir are like. They are scary, and eventually, with more and more right answers, their shikl becomes more and more pleasant. There are hadith where, fine, there are Munkar and Nakir, but there's also Mubashir and Bashir, same 2 angels. It's just as you give more and more correct answers, their appearance changes to Mubashir and Bashir. They don't have lightning in their eyes, thunderous voices, large clubs and mallets that have fire and all. The hadith are consistent. It's not like they're metaphorical. From imam to imam to imam, these are the consistent, descriptions that we find of Munkar and Nakir. So that's not something that's going to change. Yeah, but if the answers are easy for you, then you could be scared or not scared. Gunman or no gunman, 2 plus 2 is okay, yeah, 4, whatever. Right? Let me through. Their shikl will change depending on your shakira. Shakira we mentioned yesterday, your disposition. What you've made your second nature, what you've made integral into your life, that's what will come out of your mouth, or your metaphorical mouth, in the Qabr, when they ask you. So, is it possible that I just go and ask my brother and sister or my mom and dad, hey, if I die, just go and put a cheat sheet for me? Who's my God? Allah. Who's my messenger? Muhammad. Who's my imams? Ali, Hassan, Hussein, all the way up until Sahib al-Asri was Zaman, Imam al-Mahdi. Just go and put that little cheat sheet for me. Is that going to help? No. This is why we have hadith, for example, that say that it took someone in their questioning of the grave, when they were asked the question, who is your messenger? 70 years to answer. What's the answer? After 70 years, what was their answer? Oh yeah, that guy who went and brought that book that we were talking about. That book that we love, what was that book? The Quran? Yeah, what was his name? Muhammad. Took you 70 years to go and remember Muhammad? I just want to mention right now, for those of us who even go and pray 5 times a day, right? Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. We go and mention his name at least 5 times a day, hopefully, right? It takes that long for you to go and remember his name? I'm sure people, they went and had some kind of like, okay, yeah, it's okay, we got this, right? Cheat sheet. Right? No. What you are planting in your life, throughout your life, that's how, imagine this, that's how they will answer, or the answer will come out. This is what I want you to imagine. Whatever you were planting, Munkar and Nakir will open up your chest and they'll just start watering this little garden. Whatever grows, grows. This is why Rasulullah ﷺ, when he was describing the end of times, what did he describe the people as? He said, the end of times, it's as if I can see them right now. Their God will be their bellies. Their God will be in their bellies. Their God, when they go and ask you, Man Rabbuk, who's your Lord? My food. Anytime I was hungry, that's exactly what took my attention. It might have been namaz time, but hey, I'm out with friends and I need to eat, right? This is why, by the way, also, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam says, yes, it is wajib to open your fast in Shahr Ramadan. Iftar, right? Wajib. Suhoor, mustahab. Iftar, wajib. Praying Maghrib, because both happen at the same time, right? When is iftar time other than Maghrib? Because mashallah, whether you pray or not, if you fast, everybody has Maghrib time memorized, yes? Maghrib time also doesn't just mean iftar time in Shahr Ramadan. It also still means Maghrib time, that you have to go and say Allahu Akbar and pray your 3 rakat. They came to the Imam and they said, which one should we do first? He says, both are wajib, but I like for you to pray while you're in the state of fasting. But if you have people around you and they want to eat, don't hold them up, go and eat first. But if you have the choice, I would like for you to pray while you're still a little bit hungry. Allah likes that. But if all of us, our God is our bellies, as Rasulullah says in the end of times, then what's my decision going to be? My shakila, my second nature is going to be, I'm waiting for, as soon as Allahu Akbar is not even La ilaha illallah, at the end of the adhan, I have the tamar, the khujur, right, the date, and oh my God, thank God, this 18-hour roza, it's done, right? Because my shakira, my second nature, it just immediately brings me towards food. So, don't be surprised with these kinds of hadith where when the angels, Munkar and Nakir, asked, who's your God? They're like, food, my belly. And then the guy's like, wait, why did I say that? Because this is how it really was for you in life. You said La ilaha illallah, but your actions were just making your belly big. You were serving your belly before you were serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It says, he continues in this hadith, Rasulullah, he says, in the end of times, their ilah, their God, will be their bellies. Their qibla, the way that they pray, will be their wives, their spouses, their wives. Anything my wife says, anything my husband says, yeah, okay, yeah, that's what we ought to do. If we have to go to a wedding that's a little bit questionable, yeah, well, my wife is going, my husband is going, gotta go. Their qibla is their wives, Rasulullah says. And their honor is their dinars and their dirhams, their wealth and their money. You tell me, are we in the end of times or not? Ya Rasulullah, are we in the end of times? I think we're in the end of times. So, when Munkar and Nakir start to water these seeds and see, well, let's see what grows up. Come on, let's see. What were you really acting on? I remember Bahlul, once upon a time, one of the companions of Imam al-Baqir, Imam al-Sadiq, and Imam al-Qabr. He is asked, what are you sitting on right now? And he happens to be sitting underneath him. He's sitting on a gold chest. He goes and says, I'm sitting on your God. The guy's a Muslim. He said, what do you mean you're sitting on my God? He goes and takes those juta or whatever, or those slippers or whatever. He's about to go and hit him. He's like, oh, no. Goes in. I'm just talking in terms of what the Imams and the Prophet has said, because the God is money. But he's not able to go and get that out, so the guy runs him away, and then he goes and sees what is he sitting on? He's sitting on a treasure chest. Then he understands what Bahlul was trying to say, right? What our shakila is, we don't have any option to lie when it comes to munkar and nakir. Our tongues, we already said, stopped working. We don't have those faculties that we used to in the dunya. So there is no even concept of, hey, let me just go and spin a lie so I can tell these malaika what they want to hear, right? So that I can, kind of get away with it. No. Whatever you had been planting in your life, from now, You think that these kinds of lectures are going to have any effect on the people who are 70 or 80 years old? These guys are concrete in their ways. Once you're shakira, look, they even say in driver's ed that your maturity, your cranial maturity happens at age 25. That's when the cement starts to get a little bit solid. Our religious texts, Quran, Hadith, they all say the age of 40. Once you're at the age of 40, that cement is solidified. Does that mean that you can never break out of that mold, break out of that shakira? No, the door of istighfar and tawbah is always available. It's just now, you have to go and bring in that jackhammer so that you can go and break up the concrete. I'll give it to you in the terms of a dentist. If you don't go to a dentist for a long while and you have plaque building up for years and years and years, don't they have to go and bring in the extra special duty kinds of tools to go and get through that plaque? Yes or no? Yeah. Yeah, but if you just keep on going to the dentist, or even forget about the dentist, if you just brush your teeth twice a day, and by the way, if you also just so happen to floss, have some rahmah on your dentist and your dental hygienist, for God's sake, right? You go and you keep up your dental hygiene. Is it going to be as painful over there in the dentist office? Are they going to have to use so much lidocaine, use so much numbing agents? No, they're not. Well, similarly over here. Why do you think that some people's deaths are so difficult to extract the soul out of the body, and some people's souls, they're very easy to go? Because those people whose souls are easy to take out of their bodies, they died before they died. They said, forget about this world. We're not attached to this world. But those people who needed the scissors, who were feeling like they were being ground in a mill, those kinds of explanations, why do you think that happened? Because they were so attached to dunya that they didn't want to leave. Everything comes down to your shakir, your disposition. And this happens through, you have a good thought, you act on that, that becomes a good deed. That's an atomized, individualized, one-time event. You did a good deed, mashallah, good job. But it's going to take repetition in order for that good deed to become a good habit. And even if it's a good habit, Hussein a.s. didn't just have a good habit of saying no to oppression. It was part of his disposition. Many of those companions, by the way, it was just their habit. That if they see something, it's a habit of theirs. They might go and do it, but then it's easy to also let go of a habit. This is why when times got tough, Imam Hussein a.s. went and turned out the candle, and he said to them, if you want to go take care of your business, go look after your families, you can always come back. But as they were leaving, they knew and he knew, they're not coming back. They don't have that resolve to go and fight against swords and iron and metal. As soon as they're on the battlefield, maybe not, they might stay, they might not. But it's not enough for them to have that thubut, to have that steadfastness. If you guys want to be soldiers of the Imam of your time, start showing in your own personal life. You don't have to go and show it to anybody else. You don't have to go and prove yourself to anybody else. But al-insanu ala nafsihi basira, Quran says, that the human being is very, very well aware of his own state of affairs. He knows how he's doing. I don't have to come and tell you and look into your eyes that, hey, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this good, you're doing that bad, you need to go and do this. It's not even my job to come and tell you. You have the Quran to come and guide you, you have Ahlul Bayt. What more could you want? There are people who are sitting out there in the world who don't even have the Quran, who don't even have Ahlul Bayt. You think that they're not going to come and ask you, Yawma idhin, what's it called? لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَ إِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. That day we will go and ask you about the different kinds of favors and benefits that we gave you. You think that Ali ibn Abi Talib is just some free prize given out to everybody? I'll tell you right now, I was not always an Ithna Ashari believer. And I'll tell you, coming from a different path, what a difference the 12 Imams make in my path back to Rasulullah and in my path back to Rasulullah and back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We have a request, brothers and sisters. There's a couple of more people who are trying to join the majlis. Please, inshallah, stand up and move forward so that more people have the opportunity that they can sit. Sisters, for you, it would be probably better if you guys move back so that there's more room for the sisters. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. before we go a little bit more even into the topic, I just want to, mention, I don't know, like, did you guys just wake up like an hour ago or something? I don't know what's up with your salawats over here in Dallas, but it seems like you growed up weak over here. I thought everything was bigger in Texas or something like that. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Not bad. Another third, louder salawat in honor of the Imam of our time.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
That's much better. So anyway, now with Munkar and Nakir, we've answered the question, is it possible to lie? But also we have to ask the question, what are those questions that they will ask? What should I be worrying about in dunya so that I can go and form my disposition around that? We know from our hadith that the questions that they will ask are, who is your Lord? So therefore, I need to be serving Allah and not serving somebody else at the same time. Meaning if Allah says something is important, then I don't care what anybody else says. As youth, there's a lot of different social peer pressures, influences. Oh, is this going to look cool? There's a kid's book. Of course, inshallah, none of us have this problem. But there's a kid's book that's titled by one of our friends, our sisters in the community, which is titled, My Friends Eat Pork, Why Don't I? And for young kids who don't know the question of, well, why am I the one who's not eating pork? They don't maybe know all the medical deficiencies, all the harms. They don't know why they're not eating pork. They don't know that Quran says not to. They might have these kinds of questions. Maybe you guys have questions of, well, my friends are dating, my friends are going out on these, spring vacations or whatever it is. They might be going on these types of vacations. Why am I not doing that? Let's address this in terms of what we eat and what we don't eat, in terms of a halal diet. You see, each animal's form, according to our ulama, the ulama of philosophy, they say that animals end up taking the form of that which their nature is. What do I mean? I mean that a pig is very voluminous, it's very gluttonous, it just likes to eat anything that it comes in its path, with mud, slop, whatever it is, just likes to roll around in its own filth. It just likes to be lazy. It just likes to, swap partners. Therefore, if you eat that, forget about all of the medical things. Spiritually, Allah doesn't want you to take on those benefits. Yeah, if there's a dire situation where your life is in danger, a little bit of it where you're not looking forward to it, where it's just enough to go and, keep you sustained till your next meal, until, inshallah, things get better, that's enough. That's not going to have too much of an impact on you, inshallah. But for example, let's go on to another animal, maybe the sheep. Sheep is very peaceful, very, docile. A horse, very loyal, very strong, right? The animals that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to eat, to incorporate into our fitrah, help us on our journey towards becoming more peaceful, decent, docile people. And so therefore, don't think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just randomly going and choosing this one haram, this one halal, this one haram, this one halal. No. He does things with wisdom, and He's doing it for your benefit. If you guys want to go and succeed in Barzakh and in the Akhirah, then better, guess what? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a prescription, you should take it. How many of you go to the doctor and he gives you a prescription, you go and start arguing with him, why this side effect? That's the chemical. That's what that medicine will do. That's the side effect. Well, guess what? When you eat this animal, this will be the spiritual side effect. When you eat that animal, this will be the spiritual side effect. So this is not something that we can just pick and choose that, I'm going to have pork, or I'm going to have ham, and I'm just not going to have the side effects. Okay, try that with medicine. Try that with anything, right? I'm going to go and put the wrong type of oil or gasoline into my car. Try that. Try and see how it works. Is your car going to work? Go and put diesel into a regular, I think all of you are old enough to go and at least put gas into your car, right? There's 83, 87, 89, and then diesel, right? And the 83 car, go, try putting diesel. If you guys ever try to do that, don't try to do that, please, Save yourselves from that. But when it comes to your akhirah, no, forget about this. YOLO, let me live, let me have my fun, right? No, have that fun, but somewhere else in the akhirah. See, Barzakh, we mentioned, is alim al-khayali, where you have these forms and archetypes. And so just like how you can see dunya in the barzakh, guess what you can also see? In whatever capacity you can start to see it. You can also start to see Jannah, and you can also start to see Jahannam in barzakh. We mentioned yesterday that like the Russian dolls, where one encapsulates a smaller one, our dunya, alam al-tabi'i, this, physical manifestation of ourselves, this is the lowest one. And outside of it is the image world, the barzakh realm. This encompasses it. Outside of that is even the soul. And we'll start looking at the soul starting tomorrow with the resurrection, inshallah. But one of the ways that our ulama of philosophy have given us this interpretation is, imagine barzakh, you can start to see it over here as if you're looking at things through a puddle. If you see a puddle on the road and you're trying to look at the sky, are you going to be able to see birds in it? Are you going to be able to see clouds really clearly in that puddle? No. But if you just look up at the sky, which in our example, follow the example please. The example over here of looking up at the sky is, okay, you finally did leave this dunya. You died before you died, or you actually died and you went into barzakh. The clarity that you have now of that bird, of that cloud, is much better than that puddle that you were looking through. Similarly with barzakh, looking at the akhirah, the actual resurrection realm, that's like looking at a puddle and trying to see the sky. Meaning, whatever capacity that barzakh can contain the reality of Jannah and Jahannam, it'll show you. You can start to enjoy whatever watered down version of Jannah and Jahannam there is in barzakh from the time that you're in barzakh. Is this making sense? Let me know if it's not, with a little bit of a shaking of the head, but if it's making sense, then a little bit of nod of the head would be appreciated. Yes, okay, thank you. Right, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I think I should go and make this comparison of a Texas salawat every single night, because this is a nice, invigorating, this is a warm salawat, this is a welcoming salawat. Let's have another one of these salawats on Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So, we understand that barzakh, according to yesterday's talk, is happening simultaneously with this life. It's not like, oh yeah, 10,000 years from now after everybody's done, then barzakh will stop. No, it's already started. It's happening right now. Do we have any Quranic references to show us this? Yeah? In Surah Al-Insan, Ahlul Bayt, how many of you know this story? Ahlul Bayt, Imam Ali, Fatima al-Zahra, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein are sick. They go to Rasulullah, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein are sick. Imam Ali and Fatima al-Zahra ask, what should we do? Say, go and make a nidr. Go and make a vow with Allah that if Allah fixes their health, you will fast for 3 days. They do it. Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein are cured. Imam Ali and Fatima al-Zahra come and do their fasts for 3 days. On the first night, a poor person comes to their door. On the second night, an orphan comes to their door. On the third night, you have this, what is it called? The asir, the war prisoner come to their door, right? And they feed each and every single one of them. But it's interesting, go home tonight, and for those of you who know Arabic, you know what fi'al mudari is, the present tense verb. For those of you who don't know, just look for the ya. That means that it's happening right now in the present tense as the ayah is happening, as the ayah is being read. So over here in dunya, if you go and put on your dunya lens, you see Ahlul Bayt feeding the miskin, the yatim, and the asira. A few verses later, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, yeah, but at the same time, fi'al mudari, again, present tense verb, they're also drinking from the goblets of Jannah. They're also being served by the youth of Jannah. Meaning if you go and put on the glasses of dunya, you'll see just what's happening in dunya. As soon as you take it off and you put on the lens of barzakh, you'll see at the same time happening in barzakh that this is happening where they're drinking from these goblets of paradise and they're being waited on by the youth of paradise. So, can we start to realize this in our own day-to-day lives? Inshallah, with a little bit of practice in our day-to-day actions, yes, we can get there. But don't do your actions for the sake of being able to see that. Do it for Allah. Whether Allah wants to give you that power of being able to see it, that's up to Him. Whether you do the actions, that's still necessary and required for you. Right? So now, we have a couple of, instances, stories in Barzakh that will give us a kind of idea of what's our life going to look like once we're in Barzakh. See, there's an account of a man who came into the dream of a scholar, and he said, I really, even though I was a follower of Ahlul Bayt, I really did not follow the religion. And my death was kind of hard for me. It wasn't as hard as it could have been, but it was kind of hard. I didn't really want to leave this dunya. So, okay, then what happened? It says, then I got to Munkar and Nakir. And I couldn't answer all the questions right, so I kind of had to, be squeezed a little bit. I had to get a little bit of the punishment. But then eventually they're like, okay, look, you're a muhib of Ahlul Bayt, you have the wilayah, come and say salam to your imams. He says, I come, and I'm in this garden. And I see all of them are sitting on chairs in front of me, and I come and I greet all of them. I come first to Rasulullah, then Imam Ali, all the way down the line up until the master of the age, Imam Sahib al-Asr al-Zaman. I go and greet all of them, but then I look at my clothes, and I'm completely dirty. I thought I was wearing clean clothes, but now suddenly, all my clothes are dirty. It's as if like mud, and I'm like, I don't feel appropriate in this setting with such dirty clothes. And I go and ask the angels, why am I in such dirty clothes? It's like, okay, don't worry about that. We'll go and do some exercises with you so that we can get through this, and we'll slowly clean you up. He's like, now I found out what those exercises are. All those namaz, all those salahs that I missed, whether I do them in dunya or I do them here in Barzakh, or inshallah, in a couple of nights we'll see, if you don't even have the time to do it in Barzakh, where eventually it will be asked and you have to do all of these qada namaz. He says, now the angel basically came up to me with a clipboard and he says, what's your name? Oh, your name is Fulan, right? Oh, okay. Why do I see that you have 20,000 missing salah, Fulan? Well, are you waiting for an invitation? Drop and give me 20, like a drill sergeant, right? Come on, drop and give me 20. Okay, all right, Allahu Akbar, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah, Alamin. Yeah? And he goes and starts making up his qada, salah. But if someone in your dhurriyyah, you have a righteous son, daughter, right? If they go and start making up your prayers for you, that'll help decrease the count. If they don't completely finish it, by the way, this is why I said, leave a will. First of all, try not to go and miss prayers. If you have missing prayers, go and start to make them up. But, keep that count updated so that people know how much you have left. He says to the scholar in the dream, he says that other people, other mu'mineen, I can see them in Barzakh, they're flying around, they're easily able to get anywhere they want. Me, if I want to get to Wadi as-Salam, and we'll look at Wadi as-Salam in a little bit, then I have to walk all the way there. Wherever I'm buried, I have to walk all the way to Najaf. It's kind of annoying. But the believers who don't have any of these things weighing them down to the earth of Barzakh, they're able to fly. Me, I can't fly. So, this is something that we potentially will have to face when it comes time for, inshallah, if we're in Wadi as-Salam. In Wadi as-Salam, different kinds of exercises could be done for us. For example, fasting might be missing for us. Now, how are we going to make a fasting while we're there in Barzakh? This is going to have to be something that we either come back in a dream and communicate to someone, hey, look, I didn't leave a will. I have this many fasts outstanding. Hey, I didn't put this in my will. I have a hajj outstanding. Hey, I didn't put this in my will, but I have a lot of khums that I didn't pay in my life. Hey, I didn't put this in my will, but I have a lot of zakat that I might have needed to pay. I didn't really pay attention to it, but now I know because the angels are telling me you have this much. Can you please make this up for me? If not, then you're not going to be able to really advance past those primary stations in Barzakh. And if you're not able to get past those stations, you're not able to get to the Jannah of Wadi Salam and be with Ahlul Bayt. Once you're in Jannah, then you're having happy times. You're able to have whatever you want. You can have fun times, you can have marriages, you can have wine, alcohol, you can do whatever you want. Don't worry about that. But are you going to be able to get there? That's reserved for people who took care of their wajibat here in dunya. In Wadi Salam, you might have people who are asking about what's the status of this family member, what's the status of that family member. So don't be surprised, by the way, because we have hadith on this, where when you, inshallah, will meet your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, they might ask, hey, how's this person doing? My son, your uncle, how's he doing? And if you say, oh yeah, he's still doing good, then they're like, oh my God, thank God, he's doing good. Alhamdulillah. But if they hear, oh no, he died, then they're like, oh no, that's probably the saddest news that they could get. Why? Because if that person, that uncle or whatever, died and he was a good person, they should have been in Wadi Salam with them. Those people who you just met, the grandparents and the great-grandparents and the parents, they should have met that uncle or aunt or nephew before you. The fact that they didn't, they're like, oh, he must be in that other place called Wadi al-Barhut. He might not be doing so well in Wadi al-Barhut. And they might become sad. So again, this is something that you can look forward to. When you're in Barzakh, you can go and ask people who come, who are new arrivals, hey, how's it going? Speaking of new arrivals, after Munkar and Nakir are done with some people, it seems those people who are in Wadi Salam, they're like, hey, give him a little bit of time. He's had a rough time. Give him a little bit of time to adjust. We'll go and talk to him later and ask him about our questions of who's still left in dunya, who's doing good, who's doing bad, are they still alive? Let's go and ask him a little bit later. Give him a little bit of time because it seems that his trip over here was very rocky and he didn't have a good time with Munkar and Nakir. So, having mentioned Wadi Salam, we need to also go and mention that, look, yes, our good deeds will be manifested, but also that which we teach people. We have to be very, very careful what we teach people. I have a responsibility here on the minbar to go and give you the most researched and well-authorized and validated, backed-up opinions that I could find before I come and spread this, not only to the Jamaat who's over here in front of me, but also to you two. This kind of knowledge, if it's wrong, and people start acting on this, it's going to come back to me in my barzakh, and I'll have to go and pay for it, because people are going to be taking this and running with it. So therefore, when we give religious fatwas, fiqh, even beliefs knowledge, be very, very careful before you open your mouth, and be very comfortable saying these three words, I don't know. If you don't have an ego, if you've been able to erase your ego, these three words are easy. But if you have a lot of kibr and pride, then these three words are the hardest words you could ever utter. I don't know. But this is something that those ulama who have been able to erase their egos, it's very easy for them. Final few points. In Wadi al-Barhut, we have stories of that. I won't go into that. You can go into the literature of those, or even inshallah afterwards the discussion. We can always continue that. But on point of hope. Right after Munkar and Nakir question us, there's another angel who comes and visits us. His name is Rumman. He comes and says, I'm going to ask you to write down all of your deeds from birth till death. You're going to have to find a paper and a pencil to write it on. You're like, what paper and pencil? I'm in my grave. What am I going to write on? He says, your kafan over here, this should be good enough for your paper. Okay, well, what do you want me to use for my pen? Your finger's good enough. Write with your finger. All right, fine, if you say so, angel. What am I going to use for my ink? Saliva. Saliva's good. Use your saliva. All right, fine. But I don't remember everything that I did. Don't worry. I'll remind you. You write. And so this angel reminds us of all of our good deeds, and we're happy going, yes, I did do that Hajj. Thank God. And then he goes and says, you came to Dua Kumail on a Thursday. Oh my God, thank God. Yes, write that down, write that down. Then he comes to a bad deed, and your pen halts, and you're like, and the angel says, why are you hesitating? No, it's kind of embarrassing. The angel says, SubhanAllah. When Allah was watching you, you weren't that embarrassed to go and do that deed. Now that you've done it, and I'm just reminding you, and you have to go and write it down, now you want to go and be shy and sharminda and all that kind of stuff. You didn't have that kind of sharam in the dunya when you actually were committing the sin. Shame on you. Write it. Goes and writes it. In this way, the whole entire thing is recorded. Question comes, do I have to record all my bad deeds? What about the ones that I did tawbah from? What about the ones that I did istighfar from? No, the ones that you did tawbah from, that you actually moved away from and Allah accepted your tawbah, the angels have been made to forget. This angel will also not remember. You'll be thinking, wait, is he going to say that? He's not going to say it. Thank God. I don't have to write that down. This is a call, brothers and sisters. If you have not already been doing tasbihat of istighfar throughout the day, Rasulullah himself daily would do 70 times astaghfirullah rabbi wa atubu ilayh. If Rasulullah, who's never sinned, he's infallible, he's doing it, this is a higher discussion of why he's doing it, who are we not to do it? Do more than 70. Do 100. Do 100 maybe even after every single namaz. Is it that hard? Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. After every namaz? Shouldn't be. Do it. That way you don't have to go and be embarrassed over there. That way you don't have to go and answer over there. I want to bring up one hadith for our hope. I know I'm getting close to my time, but inshallah, this is very, very important to go and also show you what will not be recorded for the ummah of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. With that, let's recite Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. This is a special amnesty, a special immunity that the Prophet says has been given to my ummah. My ummah, Rasulullah says, they will not be questioned or punished for sin, for 9 things that they commit. What are those 9 things, Ya Rasulullah? Those 9 things are, number 1, when they commit an unintended mistake. By the way, this is known amongst the scholars as hadith al-raf', the hadith of when the pen is lifted. The angel who records your bad deeds, they will not even record these things. What is those 9 things, Ya Rasulullah? What are those 9 things that will not be recorded? Number 1, when they commit an unintended mistake. If it was a mistake, you didn't mean to do it, okay, khalas, it's not going to be written down for you. Only if you're from the ummah of Rasulullah. Not for every human being. Only if you're from the ummah of Rasulullah. Number 2, what they do not remember to observe, or if they forget. Meaning if you forget to do something, or if you just, you didn't remember to do something, it's okay. Pen is lifted, not going to be recorded for you. Special thing if you're in the ummah of Rasulullah. Number 3, actions that they do reluctantly or under pressure. Not recorded. Pen is lifted. Number 4, when they commit an act and they do not know that God has, and this is by the way being narrated by Imam al-Sadiq. We're going to come back to number 4. Just keep an asterisk on number 4. Number 4, when they commit an act and do not know that God has forbidden such an action. That's number 4. If you didn't know that this was haram, pen is lifted. And we'll, again, asterisk, we'll come back to number 4. Number 5, things that are out of their power and beyond their ability to do. Meaning, let's say it's wajib on you to go to the Hajj. Yeah, but I don't have the money to go to Hajj. Is it sin? No, pen is lifted. Let's say, funny example, Imam goes and commands you, go to the moon. Yeah, but me and what rocket ship, man? I'm not Elon Musk. Okay, it's out of your power? No worries. Not for the people who are not in the ummah of Rasulullah. It's going to be recorded for them. Did not go to the moon. That was number 5. Number 6, when they do an action under duress and threat. If someone is threatening them, they have to do it. Like borrowing money with interest, or they had no other choice, or breaking their fast because an oppressive ruler told them, you must break your fast. Okay, that's not a sin to break your fast in that situation. Number 7, being jealous of someone without expressing it or acting on it. Meaning if you have that bad deed, that bad khayal, that thought, but you don't act on it, guess what? Not recorded for you. No, that was number 7. Number 8, actions that they commit due to anxiety, pessimism, or a bad idea of what the world is. Okay, if you're going through something and you end up doing something, okay, pen is lifted, it's not going to be recorded. That's the guarantee of Rasulullah. And finally, number 9, some doubtful thoughts that may come to someone's mind regarding God, His power, and His creatures. Meaning, if you have bad, su'ul dhan, if you have bad ideas about Allah, Allah's not going to punish you if you're part of His ummah. I said that there was going to be an asterisk on number 4. Let's look at what Imam al-Sadiq says. He says, however, I have to mention this. This rule applies when a person has knowledge of those things and has done enough research on their own. Meaning there is ignorance that is excused and there's knowledge that is inexcused. We can talk about that later, but the knowledge that is inexcused, you don't have an excuse, means you didn't even try to go and look up what's halal and haram. Excused is, okay, I at least tried to look into the subject and whether this thing is halal and haram. I didn't get to that part yet. Okay, I'm sorry. Now that I know, I'm not going to do it. That's what Rasulullah is saying in number 4. That which they do not know, was haram because they tried to look a little bit into the halal and haram, but they just couldn't find it. And so, brothers and sisters, forgiveness plays a huge role in this system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't have to go and answer for those deeds, not only in Qabr, not only in Barzakh. We don't have to go and see the manifestations of those deeds. Why? Because we left them. We did tawbah from them. We've completely left them in the dust. We're not those people anymore. It's not our second nature, our shakila anymore. Forgiveness really is a game changer, brothers and sisters. And remember, I mentioned this in brief yesterday, but this is not a a journey that you take on your own. This is a journey that you take with Allah's help with you. Make dua that Allah helps you if you're going through something, if you're struggling with something. Just ask for Allah to help you with it. Watch how He will help. And this is how, brothers and sisters, on the 10th of Muharram, we see that someone whose shakila was good, his nature was still good. He just so happened to be among the wrong crowd. Who am I talking about, brothers and sisters? I'm mentioning the musibah and the account on the 10th of Muharram of Hur bin Yazid al-Riyahi. Hur bin Yazid al-Riyahi, up until, before a couple of hours before Dhuhr, he is not. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We're being asked if some of the brothers and sisters could please come forward and make room. We have more brothers and sisters who are trying to enter. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Please come forward. Come forward. We're almost done with. We're almost done with the presentation tonight. So even if you have a few moments where you're sitting on the hard floor, Allah will make room for you in your grave. Allah will make room for you in Barzakh. Allah will make room for you on that day of Qiyamah where everybody is going to be climbing on top of each other so that they have room to stand. So please come forward and make room for those who are trying to come in. Thank you very much. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, these are the nights where we are being given role models so that we can go and make changes in our own lives. Yes, Imam Hussein alayhi salam led a revolution. What's the point of that if the revolution in our own lives, in our own selves, does not happen? Some Muslims, they think of this as the new year. Others, they say, no, this is not the new year. But this is supposed to be a new year where you rededicate. You make a New Year's resolution. You say to Abu Abdullah, to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and you say to him, this is the year I go straight. I don't know if I will have 50 years left to live, if I have 5 years left to live, if I have 5 months left to live, or if I have 5 minutes left to live. But right now I'm going to make that wa'da with you, that promise with you, Ya Abu Abdullah, that I will at least try to stop doing one of those haram things, or one of those makruh things, or one of those mubah things, and I will start to go and replace that with a mustahab thing, with a wajib thing. If not one thing, then at least stop doing the haram things. Our ulama have said, what is better, that they go and do that which is mustahab and wajib, or if they do that which is, or if they stop doing that which is haram. Again, brothers and sisters, there's a little bit of room. If you guys squeeze a little bit, because brothers are looking for room. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'm seeing over here, if we could kind of squeeze in over here. Brothers who just came in, over here to my left, come over here and sit over here, please. There's a lot of room over here for you over here. I'm starting to be able to lose my power of speech. It's like Barzakh is happening right now, and Malakul Maut is like, hey, speech, turn off, right? Please, brothers and sisters, come over here. Instead of sitting here on this wall, stand up, please, and sit over here next to the fellow brothers instead of next to the sisters. Thank you so much. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So we see that in these nights, we commemorate a man who his shakila was good, his disposition was good. When he stops Imam Hussein alayhi salam on the 3rd of Muharram, tomorrow morning, we'll start the morning of the 3rd of Muharram. On a day like tomorrow. It was just like that, where Hur bin Yazid, 1400 some odd years ago, stopped Imam Hussein's army from going towards the water of the Furat. And he said that my commander Ibn Ziyad has said, no more water for you, it is haram. Imam Hussein alayhi salam says, Hur, you know who I am, let me pass, let me go through. He says no. Imam Hussein alayhi salam says to him, Thaqalatka ummuk. May your mother have lost you. This, from the Barzakhi lens, we know what this means. If your mother does not have the power to benefit from you any longer, that's a huge loss for your mother. But of course, there are many, many meanings of what the Imam says, and this is not the only one. Hur says to Imam Hussein, and look at his disposition. He's not evil by nature. He just happened to be on that wrong side. He just needed a little bit more of a wake-up call. Maybe like how me and you need a little bit more of a wake-up call, so we can finally start treating this religion like a real thing. Like Barzakh, as if it's a real thing. We treat Marvel like it's a real thing, but we don't treat what Imam Hussein and Imam Sajjad and Imam Kazim and Imam Sadiq say is real. Shame on us that we can be convinced by movies, but we can't become convinced by the hadith of the representatives of God. Imam Hussein alayhi salam says to him this thing that should wake him up, and Hur is woken up a little bit, and he says, if it was any other man that had told me this, I would have responded in kind. But because you have such a mother like Zahra, I can't say that to you either. Imam Hussein alayhi salam sees that this person has a little bit of spark. He can still come back. And brothers and sisters, Imam Hussein alayhi salam sees that in you. If you are here tonight in this majlis, don't think that the Imam of your time or Imam Hussein or Rasulullah or Allah has given up on you. You have that fire. Just go and cover it up so that no wind comes and blows it out. Fortify that candle like Hur bin Yazid later would. Hur is asked by Imam Hussein, shall we lead prayers or will you lead prayers? He says, no. Yabna Rasulullah. How can we ever lead prayers? When you are here amongst us, he knows who the Imam of the time is. He knows that this is Hussein ibn Ali. Later on in the morning of Karbala, in the morning of the 10th of Muharram, Imam Hussein will ask those perpetrators, those enemies of God, do you know any other grandson from the east or the west of your prophet? Can any other person say that I am the grandson of your prophet, of Rasulullah? No. I am the last of these. Why are you so intent on shedding my blood? But all they have is blank stares. It's not in their nature to be woken up. Their shaitani disposition will not allow them. It's concrete. Even if Imam Hussein says the most jarring of things, it's not enough. The dunya has deluded them too much. But for the likes of Hur bin Yazid al-Riyahi, he comes on the morning of the 10th of Muharram, and he says to his son, and he says to others, I don't feel well. And they come and say to Hur, if anybody had asked us in all of Kufa, who is the bravest of men, we wouldn't have hesitated to say that it was Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. What is it with you today that you're such a coward? It's just 72 people. Look at how many people we have. Conservative amounts say that 30,000 people came for Yazid's army. Liberal accounts say that 50,000 people came. Look how many people we have. Look, can't you see that Haqq is with us? And Batil is with Hussein. He's quiet. He's thinking this over. He's thinking it over. And then eventually he says, La wallah, I will not sacrifice my akhirah for my dunya. I will not sacrifice my Jannah for my Jahannam. And like that, he goes to his tent, he gathers his son, a few of the people who are underneath his command, and he says, ride with me, come with me, you guys are all coming with me, we will be on the side of Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam. Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Abu Fadl Abbas are standing at the forefront of the battlefield, and they see a small battalion of people coming towards them. Abu Fadl Abbas and Ali al-Akbar, they go and they say, Imam Hussein, let us go so that we can go and finish these people off. 10, 20 people, it's not really too much for Abu Fadl Abbas or for Ali al-Akbar. Imam Hussein says, wait, see who they are. They wait, they see who it is. Hur comes with his helmet in his hands. He comes on his knees, crawling to Imam Hussein, and he doesn't show his face. He's too embarrassed. He says, please, is there any way that I could ever be forgiven? Imam Hussein alayhi salam says, is this Hur that I see in front of me? He says, yes, Mawla, it is Hur. He says, Hur, of course there is forgiveness for you, not only from me, but from my grandfather. He says, but Mawla, I stopped the water from coming to you. He says, even then, you made the right choice. You are as your mother. He will eventually say, once he's on the battlefield from his wounds, he will eventually come and say, your mother named you correctly. You are free in this world and you are free in the hereafter. Eventually he has to go and make another apology, and that is to Lady Zainab. He says, Zainab, make forgiveness for me. Make istighfar for me, that I went and stopped you and your holy family from getting to the water. I stopped you and the children like Sakina and Ruqayya and Ali al-Asghar from getting to the water. is there any kind of forgiveness for me? He comes with his head bowed. Zainab also says, forgiveness has been given to you. Hur says, to atone for my mistake, let me go and face these swords of the enemies of Allah first, so that I can make up for what I did. He says, there's no need for that for you to go first. He says, no, please, Ya Rasulullah. He goes and he valiantly fights. There isn't enough time to go into how bravely he fought, but eventually he and his son go and they lay their lives down for the noble life and the noble cause of Rasulullah's grandson. And eventually, as we said, Imam Hussein comes and sends him off with these words: in this world, just like your mother named you, you were free, and so you shall be in Akhirah, you will be free. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Raise your hand, brothers and sisters, with these tears as your wasila, as your shafa'ah. Raise your hands and let's make dua towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these holy nights with the holy ayah 5 times, inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma yujibul. Everybody loudly. Amma yujibul. لشفاء المرضى. أما يجيب لقضاء الحوائج. أما يجيب. Final time for the ta'jeel of Imam al-Sahib al-Asri wal-Zaman. أما يجيب. Oh Allah, we ask you through your holy, virtuous name, Bismika al-Azim al-A'zam al-Ajal al-Akram, 10 times together. Ya Allah, 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 Ya Allah. إلهي بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها اكشف عنا السوء يا الله. اللهم اغفر ذنوبنا كفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار مع محمد وآله الأطهار ولأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات لا سيما الشهداء والعلماء. نقرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة تسبقها بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل